you're at square one, but you got all the information, and you said, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, Master Leasing.
Okay.
So it's the same idea, but instead of leasing it to Airbnb, you're going to rent it to a tenant.
Okay.
So it's similar to property management, but it is not property management in the sense you don't have to have a real estate license.
You're a professional tenant.
Yes, that's what you are.
Yep.
And you just have the right to sublease.
There you go.
So you sublease this house to another tenant.
Yeah.
And you manage it. And there's a great course called Hassle-Free Property Management by David Tilney. If that's something you're interested in doing, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
He is the expert. He has taught us everything we know. We've taken the course, so we have the forms and all the things we need to be able to do this. So if we were starting over, this is definitely a strategy I would pursue.
Yes, no doubt. It's one where you can get into the game very quickly, very little to no money. You can build relationships with landlords that most likely have more than one property. Because the onesie-twosies folks, they usually put them with property management companies. But the people that you get the most traction from Master Leasing from are tired landlords that don't want to deal with a property manager.
Yeah.
So you're likely going to have an education along the way with that landlord. You're likely going to be taking over properties that have potential. And you're also going to be in that same boat as with Airbnb. You're going to build a relationship with that landlord and potentially be a buyer for them.
Right. So similar to the Airbnb strategy, but just renting to a annual tenant.
Yep.
A standard tenant.
That's right.
And, another approach, we could always go back to our jobs.
Yeah, so this is with the understanding that we were financially free from our rentals. We lost them all. We have trashed credit. We have no cash. And we're kind of left with our hands out wondering what's next. Well, because there's two of us that were both on this same page of real estate investing, it would probably make a lot of sense for me or her to go back to work and then the other go in and start master leasing or finding these arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
So just to get some income to stay afloat.
Right. And fortunately, in our situation, you work in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an opportunity for you to go full-time there. So you had the right now, like, you could go back and get a teaching job.
That's right.
Because there's a shortage of teachers.
Yeah.
You could go full-time in the Army.
Yeah.
And then I could also go back to my analytics job or something similar.
Yeah.
So if we got into a situation where we lost everything, go back to our jobs, and we could scale back our spending personally.
Oh, we would straight up be beans and rice and beans, and do the bare minimum.
Right.
And go back to those, we call them the Cooley Road days, and that's just the days of our first properties that we struggled.
Yeah.
And we
hustled
we had our nose to the ground, you just working hard, had no enjoyment outside of the enjoyment of working with each other and working on houses.
Yeah.
That's all we did. So we'd just be back in those days and hustling really hard and making the same sacrifices we did then, but we'd have 2 children.
Right.
And those sacrifices would be a lot more difficult. I know they would be. And for our listeners out there that already have children, you're like, well, I'm trying to get started the first time, and I've got kids, and y'all can't relate with me because y'all didn't have to do it with kids. Well, we do have kids now, and we do understand the time constraints that go with it, but it is still possible.
Yeah.